It began quietly in the dim light of the Ferrari simulator room at Maranello. Charles Leclerc had come in early, still carrying the frustration from Austin, a weekend where the car had felt completely foreign. He sat down for his usual post-race simulator session, loaded Hamilton's telemetry, and hit start. What appeared on the screen stopped him cold. The data wasn't just precise, it was alive. Every steering input, throttle modulation, and brush of the brake had intent. The simulator's motion sensors brought those traces to life, and suddenly, Leclerc felt what Hamilton had felt in Austin. The rear instability, the delayed front response, the twitch of grip as the car exited corners. It was all there, mapped, measured, and understood. At first, he thought it was a glitch. The simulator sometimes exaggerated feedback, translating numbers into sensations that didn't match reality. But when he checked the raw telemetry overlay, it aligned perfectly. Hamilton hadn't guessed where the aerodynamic imbalance came from. He had sensed it before anyone confirmed it. That realization hit Leclerc hard. The data didn't lead Hamilton. It followed him. When he stepped out of the simulator, the engineers in the control room were silent. "He felt this before we even measured it," one whispered. The lead engineer nodded. "That's Lewis." Word spread across Maranello not as gossip but as quiet awe. The meticulous, data-driven Leclerc had just witnessed what instinct at the highest level looked like, and it belonged to his teammate. Next door, Hamilton was reviewing cooling simulations for Mexico when Leclerc walked in. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at the screen and then at Hamilton. Finally, he said, "You were right. It really was the floor." Hamilton smiled lightly. "You can feel when something's not breathing with you," he replied, not as arrogance but as poetry. It was the language of a man who treated machinery like music. Leclerc nodded, half smiling, half stunned. For a moment, there was no rivalry, only respect. From that moment, the difference between the two drivers became impossible to ignore. Hamilton's radio messages were calm, analytical, precise. "Front grip fades mid-corner. Feels like aerostall at high yaw." Leclerc's, by contrast, were frustrated. "The rear is sliding, and I don't understand why." Both described the same issue, but where Hamilton translated instinct into clarity, Leclerc saw only chaos. In qualifying, the gap grew clearer. Ferrari had introduced a new low-drag rear wing for Austin that boosted straight-line speed, but shifted the aerodynamic balance forward. Hamilton adapted within laps, adjusting braking and throttle to counter over-rotation. Leclerc fought the car all session, radioing, "We need to change something, it's undrivable." Hamilton, on the same setup, quietly put his car on the third row. To the engineers, it wasn't about who was faster. It was about who understood instability. And Hamilton did it with the calm precision of a pilot navigating turbulence. Race day made that difference undeniable. As track temperatures soared and tire wear skyrocketed, Hamilton delivered a masterclass in control. He extended his first stint by 7 laps beyond the plan, preserving his tires with microscopic precision. Leclerc, meanwhile, pushed early, overtook Piastri, but burned through his tires within 20 laps. By lap 40, his rear end was gone, sliding through the S's. "No grip left," he radioed. Ferrari split the strategies. Hamilton 1 stop, Leclerc 2. The result? Hamilton finished 4th, half a minute ahead. But the real story was in the debrief. Hamilton's tone was calm. "The car loses aero load between turns 8 and 10, likely floor deformation." Leclerc frowned. "I just lose rear traction." To the engineers, it was like hearing 2 languages describe the same thing. Overnight simulations confirmed what Hamilton had already known. The floor flexed slightly on the left-hand edge, causing unpredictable downforce loss in fast corners. Hamilton had instinctively compensated for that flaw before the sensors caught it. His throttle and steering traces predicted the aero drop-off with uncanny precision. Leclerc's data, meanwhile, reacted after the grip was gone. Hamilton anticipated. Leclerc responded. It wasn't about talent, both had plenty. It was about perception. Hamilton didn't just drive the SF-25, he felt it, as if the car's pulse synced with his own. 2 days later, back at Maranello, Leclerc sat in the simulator again, this time reliving Hamilton's laps. The sensations and the instability, the faint vibration, the subtle slide, were all real. He turned to the engineers. "Why does it feel like that? Is it in the code?" The lead aerodynamicist shook his head. "No, Charles. That's real data. It clicked for Leclerc then. Hamilton hadn't guessed. He had heard the car's weakness before any algorithm could. Ferrari's engineers cross-referenced the telemetry with structural load data and found it. A tiny irregularity in pressure along the floor's left edge, enough to cause unpredictable stalls at high lateral load. Hamilton had exposed it, not through luck but through sensitivity. The next day, Ferrari's entire technical team gathered. On the main screen, Hamilton's telemetry overlaid perfectly with the floor flex readings. Every time he'd reported loss of connection, the aero load had dropped in that exact spot. The room fell silent. "He found it before we did," said the head of aerodynamics. "That single line spread through Maranello faster than any press release." They suddenly realized they had more than a 7-time champion. They had a human sensor more accurate than any machine in their arsenal. Ferrari immediately acted, reinforcing the floor with titanium stiffeners, revising carbon layering, tweaking suspension geometry. Every change was based on Hamilton's feedback. They even recalibrated the simulator's sensitivity to match how he felt load transitions, something never done before. When Hamilton returned 2 days later, the engineers greeted him differently. No skepticism, no doubt, only respect. They showed him the new data and the fix. He listened quietly, then said, "It's not about blame. It's about connection. Once we feel the car, we control it." That single sentence turned what could have been a technical crisis into a moment of unity. Even Leclerc understood. This wasn't rivalry anymore. It was learning. "You really felt that before anyone saw it," he said softly. Hamilton smiled. "It's not magic, Charles. You just have to listen deeper than the data." Leclerc laughed lightly. "That's the part I'm learning." And in that exchange, Ferrari found balance, instinct, and analysis finally working together. The next morning, engineers printed a new motto on the simulator room wall: "Trust the feeling." It all started in the quiet glow of Ferrari's simulator room at Maranello. Charles Leclerc arrived early, still carrying the disappointment from Austin. A race weekend where the SF25 had felt unpredictable and disconnected. Sitting down for his usual post-race simulator session, he loaded Hamilton's telemetry and pressed to start. What appeared on the screen stopped him in disbelief. The data wasn't just technical, it was alive. Every steering movement, throttle input, and brush of the brakes carried intention. The simulator translated those numbers into physical sensations, allowing Leclerc to feel what Hamilton had felt in Austin. The unstable rear, the delayed front response, the faint grip loss on corner exit. It was all there, precise, controlled, and deliberate. At first, Leclerc assumed it was a glitch. Sometimes the simulator exaggerated feedback that didn't match reality. But when he checked the raw telemetry overlay, it matched perfectly. Hamilton hadn't just guessed the issue. He had known. He'd sensed the aerodynamic imbalance before any engineer had confirmed it. The realization stunned Leclerc. The data wasn't guiding Hamilton, it was following him. When Leclerc stepped out of the simulator, the engineers watching from the control booth looked equally shocked. "He felt this before we measured it," one whispered. The lead engineer nodded slowly. "That's Lewis." The news spread through Maranello not as gossip, but as quiet respect. The always analytical Leclerc had just seen a new level of instinct, something that couldn't be learned through numbers, and it belonged to his teammate. In the room next door, Hamilton was analyzing cooling simulations for Mexico when Leclerc walked in. He looked at the screen, then at Hamilton and said, "You were right. It really was the floor." Hamilton smiled calmly. "You can feel when something's not breathing with you," he said. It wasn't arrogance, and it was poetry. The way only a driver who treats machinery like a living thing could speak. Leclerc nodded quietly. In that moment, rivalry faded. What remained was respect. From the very next race weekend, their contrast became impossible to ignore. Hamilton's radio calls were calm and exact. Front grip fades mid-corner, feels like aero stall at high yaw. Leclerc's, in comparison, were frustrated. "The rear is sliding. I don't understand why." Both described the same issue, but where Hamilton turned instinct into language, Leclerc could only feel confusion. In qualifying, the gap between them became visible. Ferrari introduced a new low-drag rear wing that improved straight-line speed, but shifted aero balance forward. Hamilton adjusted within a few laps, changing his braking and throttle rhythm to manage rotation. Leclerc, however, struggled radioing, We need to change something when it's undrivable. Hamilton, on the same setup, quietly qualified on the third row. For the engineers, the question wasn't who was faster, it was who understood the chaos. And Hamilton did, with the composure of a pilot reading turbulence by instinct. When race day arrived, that difference became crystal clear. As track temperatures climbed and tire wear worsened, Hamilton executed a masterclass in control. He extended his first stint 7 laps longer than planned, protecting his tires through precise rhythmic inputs. Leclerc, meanwhile, went aggressive early, overtaking Piastri, but burned through his tires within 20 laps. By lap 40, his car was sliding violently through the S's. "No grip left," he radioed, voice full of frustration. Ferrari split the strategy. Hamilton went for 1 stop, Leclerc for 2. In the end, Hamilton finished 4th, nearly half a minute ahead. But the result wasn't the real difference, understanding was. During debrief, Hamilton's feedback was surgical. The car loses aero load between turns 8 and 10, likely floor flex. Leclerc frowned. "I don't feel that. I just lose the rear." To the engineers, it was like hearing 2 translations of the same sentence. Overnight, simulation data confirmed what Hamilton had felt. The floor was flexing slightly on one side.